on board, if you have that demand from the public, then they're going to want to put this in their manifestos because they're going to want to get support from the public. And then that will then change the way we're looking at the research. So that's
why it's so important that our parliamentarians are actually from very inclusive backgrounds, from all backgrounds, so that we have a diverse thought process. I'd like to now call on Dr. Shanda Gudagar from the Ayurvedic Medical Association. I am so apologetic this morning, I can't tell you. Unfortunately, I grew up here all my life, and so, you know, people assume I get Asian names really easily. Trust me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Excuse me for me speaking standing.
Oh, well, please do.
And also it's not going to be short and sweet.
Okay.
3 says 3 minutes. But no, the reason why I stood up, I want to see the beautiful face of Baroness.
Oh dear.
Because my speech today is aiming at her.
Uh-oh. I'm already in trouble.
No, it's very nicely in trouble. As a practitioner, and also a practitioner, and from the organizers of the association, and also wearing another hat with the government, and working as a herbal medicines advisory committee for 11 years. So, in one word, my message is frustration. Frustration is my word. Theme. Over 25 years, the Prime Minister Tony Blair's government appointed Lord Walton, one of the former presidents of the British Medical Association, due to the public pressure and as well as pressure from the practitioners, qualified Ayurvedic practitioners, to look into the regulation of herbal medical sector or complementary medical sector, whether we need a regulation or not. We have given evidence before the Walton Committee, and 2 years later, the committee report came out, positively for Western herbal medicine, unfortunately negatively for Ayurvedic medical system. So the negatively words used mean it is not proven and not effective. So Indian High Commission and the whole India was furious about that report, and immediately Indian High Commission arranged a meeting, brainwashing meeting. I attended that meeting with the Indian scientists, came from India, to educate Lord Walton, your report was wrong. In that meeting, Lord Walton accepted that yes, he made some mistakes. Maybe perhaps we can make some adjustments to that report. Somehow, fortunately, Department of Health not taken up that report seriously. So that is one part of it. And following that, there was another herbal medicine regulatory working committee being formed headed by Vice Chancellor of Hartford University, Professor Pitila. So we've been representing Ayurveda and in that committee for nearly 2 or 3 years, and attended all the meetings. And his report, quite documented, thick report, and this report came out quite positively. Positively means, yes, there is a need for regulation. There's a need for control, statutory regulation. That was the theme. That was the main ask by the public and also by the professionals. Mainly, we wanted to protect this beautiful system of Ayurveda in Western world. For example, in Sri Lanka, the India is regulated by the Parliamentary Act. Even I brought the Parliamentary Act to the committee. And also we had a meeting with the Sri Lankan High Commissioner, Indian High Commissioner at the time, how to regulate and how the state take the step to regulate the profession. Not handing over to the different committees, which we don't expect the positive results from the different committees. Final committee being appointed by the Prime Minister David Cameron's government was that David Walker and David Tednick. The David Walker was the Deputy Chief Medical Officer in this country. And we objected to his appointment, because how can we, complementary medical practitioners, how can we expect a positive report from a medical doctor? Professor Pitilo was right, here the middleman, so he had views on his own. But here, we knew that the report will be negative. I give an evidence before his committee, I have. And committee asked me, do you have any evidence of adverse, or have you collected the adverse reactions occurred due to Ayurvedic herbs? So that was the main question they asked. I'm sure all the professionals know that about it. And then we were really upset about it, because we don't know how this question is going to be reported in the final report. Say, for example, we know that the fear, if even one bad reaction occurred or publicized, and that will be the headlines in the newspaper or journals against the herbal medicine. So this is what we are trying to protect. The person come from India, bring in his suitcase loads of Ayurvedic medicines. I have seen that, I have witnessed that working with the MHRA at the government. I have attended more than 100 meetings with the government in the last 11 years. I have seen that the yellow cards being presented by GPs and reactions occurred by Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine brought into this country. So I am defending in the committees the Ayurvedic profession as a whole, but how far I can defend without the government intervention. So, as we expected, the David Walker, his report completely negative. And what the report in brief was saying is that Ayurveda is not threat to the public. So that means we are practicing a safe medicine. So that was his message. Then the thing was, then I asked this question, the Herbal Medicines Advisory Committee, we have formulated a report to the government against that report. Say that, even I said, how the government is expecting us to kill so many thousands of patients, then government will act to regulate. Is that what the government, that's the message we have received. So it's like, we know that, when there is a accidents occurred in accident spot, 10 times 10 people died, then we will have a sign. So we don't want that. We want to protect the profession. We want the statutory regulation. So then finally, they have reported us, in the report they're asking, the professionals to be affiliated with the PSA, Professional Standards Authority. So that was the direction the David Walker report is reporting us to be affiliated with them. Then that discussion came on the table with the Herbal Medicine Advisory Committee. Then I asked about the Department of Health, also represented at that meeting. I asked about what is the future of the PSA. PSA is a government-funded organization. Then what is the guarantee of the future of the PSA? And that also, the reply was not that positive, because it's a government-funded. So we, the professional, wanted to be sure, when we are affiliating with the organization or profession, we want to make sure that the professional funding is in, future funding in place. But it was not guaranteed. Yearly they review their funding. So the question is, the small organizations cannot be affiliated with the PSA. The argument I brought up is that they are charging £12,000. They are charging £12,000 from each organization to be a member of a PSA. So that is only for 1 year. So supposing 2 years later, they have stopped funding where we stand then. So we lost all this. So that is the key. So therefore, I want to say to the government that we need a better direction from the government. So she is the person that I want her to come back actually. Because we need government to act in this juncture to protect the Ayurvedic medical profession and to protect the public through a government parliamentary act. That's what we need to work for. Without the act, that's what I am heading for. My speech is that these APPG should be instrumental in the future in making or preparing an act through the parliament. So once that's done, then we are safe. We don't want committees. How many millions of pounds spent in these committees, and how much of time, our valuable time, taken on coming and sitting, like Vijay said yesterday, there is no need for talk shows.
Yeah.
We need action. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
We need action. So this is the time to act, and act by the governments. So without that, it's nothing going to happen. It is shame that in yesterday's conference, that how many European countries went for statutory regulation. There are 3 or 4 countries. Latvia is leading, Latvia and Hungary, Czech Republic, yeah, those 3 European countries. So I will stop my speech, and I will, when she comes back, I'll speak 1 minute.
As normal time is trying to become our master, so we've got a few speakers I really want to get into our conversation here. Can I invite Leila Moden from the Association of Naturopathic Practitioners, please?
Yes, hello, and
2 minutes.
thank you for inviting me. So we, our association manages members who are multidisciplinary. We have Western herbalists, Ayurvedic herbalists, Chinese herbalists, acupuncturists, naturopaths, nutritional therapists. We're here just to support, and actually the point you raised, and what you just said is very, very important to us. And we want to kind of merge all the disciplines together, because we all borrow from each other, and we're all essentially pushing the same system, which is put health in the hands of the person and educate them. In clinic, again and again and again, clients come in, and it's the first time ever that they've had a conversation about what they are doing, what they are eating, how they are living. And they vary in ages. Some are children, some are older people, some are middle-aged. And they have never, up until the point that they're in front of you, considered what they are doing is causing their symptoms. And when you educate them, they get tremendous results, and it's like a revolution in their lives. And they should have known this. If they knew that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they wouldn't be in your clinic in the first place. So we're just here to support, to say that we want to work alongside and with everybody. We don't want to be separatist in our approach. It's all for the betterment of people, and we're just here to pledge support to all that you're doing.
Leila, you're on board. Thank you for coming. Can I please ask Ms. Lakshmi Vyas, who heads the Hindu Forum at Europe, for 2 minutes, please, Lakshmi.
I'll stand so that everybody can see me. My problem with Hindu Forum of Europe and the European 27 states of Europe is, though MEPs like Igor Soltes, Jeffrey Van Orden and President Tajani himself, they support Ayurveda, except perhaps Netherlands and Italy. They have not, the European government has not given a legal recognition to Hinduism. So this is my dilemma. When they cannot recognize Hinduism, how would they, go ahead with Ayurveda? This is my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. you, Lakshmiji. And we have here with us from the British Register of Complementary Practitioners, Sue Knight, please. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me again. I actually feel as if I'm probably the person who knows the least about Ayurveda sitting here today. So I was really pleased to be invited because I'm learning little bits about it, which is great. I'm also the Chief Executive of the Confederation of Healing Organisations, which acquired the British Register of Complementary Practitioners this year. So it's all very new to us. We are again a multidisciplinary register, so we have people from Ayurveda, we have people from naturopathy, we have people from osteopathy, we have all kinds of things going on. And obviously it's important to me to be involved in something like this because what I'm hearing are the commonalities between us all. You know, we're talking about well-being, we're talking about self-healing, we're talking about relieving the stress of the NHS, and we're also talking about empowering people. And that's something that certainly the Confederation of Healing Organisations has been doing for a long time. And what's important to us and what we want to bring to the British Register is trying to get people on board with research, because we know that there just isn't enough research out there within complementary therapies and alternative medicine. So it's important to us to try and get that across. And what I'm hearing here today is really exciting because it seems that there is, you know, there are people here who are wanting to do something as far as research is concerned. So yeah, here pledging support. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. And can I please invite Charlotte Chandrika Martinez.
Thank you, Amajit. Thank you. I feel very, very honoured to be here today. It's an incredibly exciting moment. And I feel like I'm kind of drawing everybody together as we come to a conclusion here. I've littered your tables with the stuff that I do. And you might look at the back of the conference, which is in a couple of weeks' time. We have yoga for young offenders. We have yoga for creativity. I'm personally a yoga therapist for mental health within the NHS. I'm also teach PGCE, which means I teach school teachers how to include yoga in the curriculum. So hopefully I am the hope for your future in the sense that I've also trained 650 teachers to deliver yoga in the classrooms together with Ayurveda, particularly in the PSHE form, which is something that all children need to do throughout school. PSHE is to do with physical, spiritual and emotional health. And we now have an estimated, our last census showed we have 10,000 teenagers learning yoga in secondary schools across the UK by our teachers at a cost of approximately £2 per pupil. These teenagers are usually plucked out because they're needed, because they have stress or anxiety issues. The alternative would have been a counsellor at the cost of approximately £60 to £100 per pupil per week. So you can see the maths there. 75% of our graduates are in fact working teenagers in the UK at the moment, and the other percentages are working across the world in Australia, Africa, Spain, and America. What we're looking at, we've done two studies, one qualitative and one quantitative. The quantitative study we did with the BBC showed a drop of cortisol of 31% after yoga, but over a period of 6 weeks, and when I speak of yoga, I speak about the 8 limbs of yoga, not just the asana. After 6 weeks, it was 50% lower. The cortisol in their spit was 50% lower before they even started the class. Do you understand the impact of that on stress and anxiety long term for people who are now 11 and 12? And the qualitative study we did with the Leeds University proved that they reported, this is 11-year-old boys, we had a group of 30 11-year boys who qualitatively researched, showed that they perceived that they could manage their own pain. 100% of the kids, that was one of the first things they all said without being prodded, is we now feel we can manage our own mental and physical pain through what we've learned in the class. That was only 1 of 10 outcomes. Yoga is now being delivered as a whole school approach at Eton, Haberdasher Asks, Latimer School and Wellington School. Latimer's contacted me yesterday actually and asked us to do 1 week of yoga per year as an activities week for all their girls and boys. So we run this charity that you have in front of you, the Teen Yoga Charity. every week we get approached by researchers who want to research the work we do, which is clearly very easy to do since we have 10,000 teenagers doing yoga at any given moment in time. However, they then go to their university, which is University of London, Leeds University, Bristol University, Bath University, say, we'd like to do a PhD in yoga in schools. And the university comes back to them and says, sorry, we have no money for that. You need to do mindfulness instead. So one student came back to me and said, I've been given this PhD in mindfulness, I'd rather do a PhD in yoga in schools, but I can't find any schools that are doing the mindfulness where it's working. I've been given 30 schools where they should be doing mindfulness, but the children don't want to do it because it's no fun, because it's not interesting. So I feel very frustrated that I'm guiding these people for PhD subjects. I'm very clear about what needs to be studied, and that I'm very clear that we need the research in order for the money to carry on through the schools. Currently we're being financed by Sport England and by the schools themselves, but the schools are lacking in funding. But if we had the research of the work that we're doing on a larger scale, a robust research on a large scale, both qualitative and quantitative, then this would be in every school curriculum across the UK for sure. We're very lucky to have just gained a £170,000 grant from the EU to measure outcomes in the 5 countries of yoga and Ayurveda, also for adolescents who are in trouble, so adolescents who are at risk of leaving school. So I'm designing a program for these 5 countries, and then we're going to measure the outcome of that, and that research will hopefully form the basis for a pilot study that we might be able to approach a bigger fund, potentially the endowment fund, education endowment fund, or Wellcome. But we need funding to do a bigger research on what is in fact happening on a grassroots level, to prove that it's happening, to prove the outcome of what's happening, for exactly all the reasons that you guys have said here, that these adolescents are experiencing, usually in the 3rd class, that connection to self means I don't need to rely on others to give me what I need. Because I've learned at 11 years old or 12 years old, if I sit still and breathe, I know what I need. I need to sleep, I need to eat, I need to find a rhythm in my life. So that's the work we do. If you want to help us, I really, really, really appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
Some great work happening there, and I'm sure that a lot of us will like to approach you and see how we can support you.
Please do. Yeah.
Dr. Navdeep Sharma is here from Punjab in India, so can you please keep it to about 2 minutes, please?
To begin with, thanks a lot to Mr. Amajit Bamra for doing it so nicely for Ayurveda. I was here yesterday and I have been really appreciating the efforts he's putting in for Ayurveda. See, when we talk about Ayurveda, it is said, Swasthasya swasthya rakshanam aturasya vikar prashamnam. That means maintaining the health of a healthy individual and then curing the ailments of a suffering person. That means Ayurveda also keeps swasthasya swasthya rakshanam, that is maintaining wellness, as a priority rather than treating. So that is the aspect of Ayurveda which we need to focus on in case we want masses to come towards Ayurveda. It is that aspect of Ayurveda which does not require any proof. I'll take for instance a very simple thing over here. We are all drinking water over here, but if we go as per Ayurveda, we need to drink warm water. Had we been taking Ushnodak, it is the natural Ayurvedic medicine that is available over here to all of us, and we are not taking it. Another instance, if from all of us sitting over here, I ask, what is your blood group? All of us will be able to reply back to that question. But if I ask, what is your Prakriti? Only a few will be able to answer the question. Whereas blood group is required only in case of emergency, and Prakriti is required right from the time we take our first breath to the last breath that we take when we are on this earth. So we are not having the knowledge of basics of Ayurveda, and that is what we need to incultivate in classrooms. If we can incultivate certain Ayurvedic doctrines, certain Ayurvedic habits right from the classroom level, when a child is growing, we are focusing on what to eat. We should focus on how to eat. Acharya Charak has mentioned various Anvidhi Vidhan about how to eat. A pizza can be as nutritious as a normal home cooked meal, and a normal home cooked meal can be as poisonous as a junk food if not taken in a proper way. So how to eat is more important. So there are various kind of Ayurvedic philosophies, various things mentioned in Ayurveda that we need to carry into the masses, and the best thing for that is starting from the schools itself. I have been privileged enough to work with various CBSE board school organizations in India, and I have been delivering talks to students over there working on these things only. Although it's not on a very big level, but if these things can be done, then people say pratyaksha ko praman ki avashyakta nahi hai. What is evident is evident. Without proofs also, it's evident. So if we can show them that yes, these simple things can change a lot many things. Time is very less, otherwise I could have discussed arm. We take proteins. Proteins are good for us, but only if they are digested. If they are not digested, it's arm. And about arm it said, Jatra nalam darbalyat vipak vastu yarasai say am sange ko dehe sarab dosh prakop ka. That part of the food which remains semi-digested and is absorbed in that semi-digested form and starts circulating and then gets assimilated in the cells is the base of various kinds of ailments, and that is ama. And simply by drinking warm water, we can prevent that ama formation. Thank you.
So we have literally 13 minutes left, and I do need to hear from Dr. Pradeep Bhattahiri.
Thank you.
He's the director of Ayurveda Limited.
Thank you, Honorable Bonus, and all the respected.
Can you speak up, please? Speak up.
Thank you, everyone here. I would like to relate to one of my experiences. I have been practicing in India for more than 10 years. Especially, I have been practicing in an institution called Kottakkal Ayurvedishala, keeping one of the oldest traditions, right even in India. And I had an opportunity to visit a very young teenager outside London who had 2 gold medals for the Great Britain, and in the international level, she was doing water sports. And she had a fall in the school, and the mother was so desperate that she has been considered by a pediatric neurologist, the sports, the wing of the rehabilitation is not ready to take her because she's a teenager. And I was looking at her, and she's so desperate that the child is sitting back at school, not doing any sports anymore, can be a big potential for the country to come. And all these neurologists with the systems in NHS is playing around, messing around with. And I'm looking at her, how the Ayurveda, with my practice, I could say that within 30 days, with the therapies, I could have really made difference to this young child, promising child. But looking at myself, I feel like that, what are the restrictions I have? I don't have the medicines. I need to give her the right medicines. The regulations in this country is so much that I cannot give her the right herbal medications. And why do these restrictions happening, which is promising for a human being? And I cannot even give her some topical applications. I have got a person who I can help, even for the nation. So I would like to request to the High Commission here, the delegate here, we need to do something like a channel between, it should come from a governmental level. Because I was speaking to the mom, do you know about Ayurveda? No, I had never heard of Ayurveda. Of course I have read about Chinese medicine. What the Chinese medicine is quite famous. It's as old. I mean, the Ayurveda is more older than Chinese medicine. Why the Chinese medicine is more famous? Everyone knows about Chinese. Why nobody knows about Ayurveda? It's just something that the government should be doing. There should be an interaction at a governmental level to speak. Here, one of the speaker was telling about the NHS GPs rejecting herbal medicine, no work, stop it. Even it was my experience, even everywhere with this NHS doctor. I mean, like they cannot talk, the patients cannot reveal to the GPs that we are taking herbal medicine. It's helping us. Why they are not accepting it? It's because they don't have the awareness in it. They don't have awareness. Where this awareness comes from? The awareness should come from the right measures. They should be bringing the right resources to this country. There should be a channel to bring the right resources. Ayurveda is a science that should be studied. In my experience, I have been reading Ayurvedic scriptures. Sanskrit, there should be right resourceful persons. There should be people able to read Sanskrit. Here, I can see the people around, I don't know how many people learn Sanskrit, read scriptures, learn Ayurveda in the way as it should be learned. So there should be measures regarding this aspect, and there should be some measures regarding to review some of the blanket ban on some of these herbal medicines, which could be either helpful. And I'm really happy hearing that some of the measures for organizing some of the events in the Nehru Center, and I really hope that it doesn't stop there. And I'm really agree to Dr. Murthy on suggesting about user-friendly, looking at the user-friendly, how we are being benefited. Of course, when Ayurveda is being implemented in UK, there needs to be a lot of tailoring needs to be done to a UK community because it's all about how you address a European community relevant to the culture and context. Thank you very much.
I know we've literally got only 8 minutes and there was 1 or 2 questions, and I think it's only fair that we have an opportunity. So I know you had to finish something, but if you allow maybe a couple of minutes at the end if there's possibility. Otherwise, the conversation doesn't stop here, so we can carry on. But I know the gentleman over there wanted to say something, and if you may, short, sweet and succinctly, just in case anybody else wants to say something.
Yeah, I just want to take 30 seconds, and that is to say, I think a lot of what I'm hearing today is very helpful, but the solution, for me, is to take it to the World Health Organization and filter it down from there. And to do that, we have to get our philosophy, our 9 darshanas, our awareness that's been said. And I myself, I'm a writer, a Sanskrit writer, so I'm happy to work with